Your cat sleeps on your bed. It waits for food. It purrs when you touch it. But biologically, it is still almost identical to a wild predator. In this video, we explore why house cats are one of the least domesticated animals humans live with, and what that really means. In ancient Egypt, there was a time when a cat was not just an animal. It was protection. It was luck. It was law. A cat could walk through a marketplace, and people would move aside. A cat could die, and a family would shave their eyebrows in mourning. And if someone killed a cat, even by accident, the punishment could be death. Because in Egypt, cats weren't simply loved, they were worshipped. But here's the part nobody likes to talk about. When something becomes holy, it also becomes valuable. And when something becomes valuable, humans find a way to turn it into an industry. So stay with me, because what they did to honor cats is darker than you think. Imagine the Nile at night. The water moves like black glass. The air smells of mud, lotus, smoke, and grain. Somewhere behind the palm trees, you hear singing. A festival is happening. Not for a king, not for war, not for harvest, but for a goddess with the face of a cat. Her name was Bastet, and in the city of Bubastis, hundreds of thousands of people gathered to celebrate her. Music, wine, laughter. But beneath that joy, beneath the incense and the dancing, there was something else. A quiet machine, a system, a shadow economy built on fur, bone, linen, and belief. Because Egypt didn't just worship cats, Egypt consumed them. And the strange part is, the cats allowed it. Not because they understood religion, but because cats have always understood something older than religion: power. To understand why Egypt worshipped cats, you have to understand Egypt itself. Egypt was not a country built on stone. It was built on grain, wheat, barley, storage. The entire civilization depended on one thing: surplus. If you could store food, you could build temples, you could fund armies, you could feed workers, you could build eternity. But grain attracts one enemy every time: rodents, rats, mice, small bodies that multiply faster than fear. So Egypt needed a guardian, not a soldier, not a priest, a predator, a creature that could kill quietly, in the dark, without being asked. And that creature was the cat. At first, cats were useful. They were tools, silent workers patrolling the edges of human life. But Egypt didn't stay practical for long. Egypt turned everything into symbolism, and cats were perfect symbols. Because cats were contradictions. They were gentle and violent, beautiful and terrifying, domestic and wild. A living paradox, the kind of paradox humans love to worship. Bastet did not begin as a cat. She began as a lioness, a protector, a warrior, a goddess with teeth. But over time, as cats became part of the home, Bastet softened. She became something else, still protective, but closer. A guardian of families, of childbirth, of joy, a divine presence that could sit in your house and watch you breathe. And that transformation mirrored what happened to the cats themselves. They were still predators, but now they lived beside humans. Not owned, not trained, just tolerated, chosen. And Egyptians didn't just notice cats. They began to mythologize them, to place them into the universe like a puzzle piece that had always been missing. There was a city where Bastet's worship reached its peak, Bubastis. The festival there was legendary. Ancient sources describe crowds so large, it sounded impossible. Music echoing through streets, boats moving down the Nile like floating lanterns, people arriving with gifts, not for a king, but for a cat goddess. And in the center of it all, a temple. Stone walls covered in carved cats, eyes that never blinked, a place where divinity felt close enough to touch. But the most important part of that temple was underground, because beneath the celebrations, beneath the incense, there were corridors, candle-lit passageways, silent galleries, and inside them, the dead waited. Wrapped in linen, stacked like prayers, millions of them, cat mummies. When archaeologists found the cat cemeteries, they didn't find dozens, they didn't find hundreds, they found mountains, millions of cats, each one wrapped carefully, each one preserved, each one offered. And at first, it seems beautiful, a civilization honoring its sacred animals. But then, the examinations began, and the truth was colder. Many of those cats were killed young, not because they were hated, but because they were valuable. Temples bred cats, raised them, then ended their lives, to sell their bodies as offerings. It wasn't cruelty in their minds, it was devotion, because to them, a cat wasn't just a cat, it was Bastet's shadow in physical form. And if you could purchase a cat mummy, you could purchase favor, protection, luck, a blessing. So the temples became factories, and worship became supply and demand. The more pilgrims arrived, the more cats were needed. And the more cats were needed, the more the system grew. A sacred economy, built on death. And the strangest part is that it worked. People believed. The machine kept moving. For centuries, Egypt protected cats with laws that sound unreal. Ancient accounts describe mobs killing foreigners for harming a cat, even when officials tried to stop it, because a cat wasn't property, a cat was holy. And when holiness becomes law, emotion becomes weapon. Imagine being a Roman soldier in Egypt, accidentally harming a cat, and realizing you have just triggered something ancient, something uncontrollable. Not a legal system, a religion, a crowd, a storm. Because in Egypt, cats were not beneath humans. They were above them. When a household cat died, families mourned. They shaved their eyebrows. They wept. They carried the body with ceremony. Because for them, a cat wasn't a tool. It was part of the home. And in a world full of death, floods, disease, war, a cat was stability. A warm, living presence that kept the darkness out. A creature that hunted the unseen and slept beside you afterward, like it had done nothing at all. But Egypt made a mistake. They tried to control cats. They tried to keep them inside their borders. They banned exports. They punished smugglers. They sent agents to retrieve stolen cats from foreign ports, like cats were national treasure, like living artifacts. But cats don't respect borders, and humans don't respect bans when money is involved. Merchants wanted cats because cats protected grain, and grain was survival, so cats escaped, hidden in cargo, carried in baskets, or simply walking onto ships the way cats always do, as if they belonged there. And once cats left Egypt, the world changed, because the secret was out. Now here's what makes this story even more unsettling. Modern researchers have examined cat mummies using CT scan, DNA analysis, bone studies, and what they found was consistent. Large-scale breeding, mass mummification, a system designed to meet demand. Archaeologists also trace the spread of domestic cats through trade routes and genetic markers, meaning Egypt didn't just worship cats, Egypt shaped them, Egypt multiplied them, and Egypt helped export the cat into the ancient world, not intentionally, but inevitably. Because once a civilization proves something works, everyone wants it. And now we reach the part where the story turns. Because when cats stopped being gods, they didn't become ordinary. They became suspicious. They became symbols of the night, of hidden eyes, of things that move silently. And in another time, in another place, humans looked at that same creature and saw not protection, but evil. So the question is, how does an animal go from sacred to hunted? How does a goddess become a curse? And how did cats survive when the world decided they should disappear? Because the next chapter is the darkest one, and it begins when the church bells ring and the streets fill with fire.